Hi, Julie Jones from SSP Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear and On Point Pest Control. This week we're talking about finding the zone of peak performance. What Dr. Uri Hannon calls the individual zone of optimal functioning. How do we get there? Well, this weekend was a crazy weekend in our family. My cousin David has been at the Cleveland Clinic in ICU for 30 days on the heart transplant list, and we got the call this weekend that there was a heart. Wow. Wow, crazy. So we go and we spend some time before they take him into the surgery. And during that time, we're going through all these different emotions, talking about funny things from the family and, and just having conversation as watching doctors come in and talk to him and tell us what is going to happen and so on and so forth. But during this time, it's like crazy emotions, right? On one hand, you are so excited. This is a miracle. What a blessing. And thinking about the fact that he's getting a new lease on life. And then on the other hand, there's this fear that he might not make it through. They came in for him to sign the papers of all the risks while we were there. It's a chance. It's a chance you're taking. Throw in the next layer of emotion and think about the fact that as our family is rejoicing, another family is grieving the loss of someone that they love. Oh, crazy. I do know this, that as we were going through these emotions, and I can only imagine what David's were like. Mine were emotional roller coaster. His were he probably rode every ride at Cedar Point 10 times in every 5 seconds that went by, just all over the place. But I know that all of us being there and showing the support and the love and the way that our family, we're so lucky to have the family that we have. I am certain that positive environment put him in a better mindset to go and do the scariest thing he's ever done in his life. In fact, my aunt said that he rang that transplant bell loud enough for everybody on the floor to hear that a heart was going to be beating again really soon. He's out of surgery. Everything went great. The heart's working great. He's in good shape right now. But, and there's always a but, or an and, however you want to look at it, there's a long road ahead. And in order for David to meet that long road, he is going to have to find a zone in which he can push and challenge and persevere and work. Because this new gift has given him a new opportunity, and now he's got to do something with it, and it's going to be hard. Just like when we go to compete, we've got a new opportunity every single day to do something new and different and more exciting, and to grow and to learn and to push and to be more resilient and to learn, what you name it, right? All the things that David is going to go through, we're going to face challenges too, and we have to figure out what our own individual zone of optimal functioning is. According to Dr. Uri Hanlon, who did studies in 97 and 2000 on this IZOF, we all function at our best at different levels. So you may function better when you have a little heightened anxiety, and I may function better when I have a little lesser anxiety. You may function better in certain emotional states, and I function better in different emotional states, hence individual zones of optimal functioning. We've got to figure out what those are. What Dr. Hannon does, much like Tim Gowey in The Inner Game of Tennis, he does not label emotional states as good or bad. He labels them as helpful or unhelpful. And we need to know what helps us. We need to know what doesn't help us in order for us to be ready to be our best. We know that just like David, when he gets into something, he's not going to be able to control everything, just like we don't control everything that happens in a competition. But how we prep ourselves for that is going to have a huge influence on how we perform. So if we're at our best as we prep, then we've got a much better chance of performing at or near our best when we get into the competition. So in working with the International Soccer Club that I work with here in the Akron area, we're getting ready to go to the ECNL showcase in Florida. It's a big deal for these athletes, and we need to know what we need to do to show up as our best selves. So we are looking for our individual zone of optimal functioning. How are we going to do it? We are going to re-engineer our positive or optimal performances and our subpar performances. We're going to look at those. And what I asked them to do was fill out a worksheet that had a bunch of adjectives on it. And this worksheet is from Coaching Better Every Season by Dan, I forget what it is, Gilbert. I don't know what his first name is. I can't think of it right now. But this worksheet, this is one of the books I use for one of the courses I teach at the University of Akron. But the list of words includes these. And this is not all of them, but this is a few. Focused, fighting spirit, nervous, pleased, confident, worried, resentful, motivated, purposeful, sluggish, powerless, powerful, effective, outgoing, complacent, anxious, tense, relaxed, overloaded, attentive, communicative, uncommunicative, connected, tired, energetic, irritated, doubtful, and so on. What I asked the athletes to do was this. They had all these words on a sheet. They had to circle the things that describe their emotional states prior to their optimal performances. What do they look like, feel like, live like before they performed really well? Conversely, I had them think about their subpar performances and do the same, but they had to cross out the words that describe them for those performances. What they look like, feel like, live like in their pregame prep, whenever that starts for them, in the times that they didn't play as well. And as Dr. Hannon found in his research, we too had things all over the board. Some people felt that nervousness was facilitative. Some people thought that nervousness caused them to perform poorly. Some people felt that being communicative was helpful. Some of them thought it was hurtful. Some people thought that they needed to be uncommunicative in order to be their best, and others felt like it was really important for them, if they were uncommunicative, that doesn't help. So everybody is different. That's the point. Unhelpful, helpful for you. We've got to find your individual zone of optimal functioning. The next thing that we did is I had them go back through those two lists, or the X's and the circles, and really darken circle 3 of the things that help them be their best, and then find the 3 that they want to try to avoid, because these are definitely leading to subpar performance. When we think about those two lists, then we need to throw in Dr. Ziegler's age-old question of, by doing what, how are we going to get to these states, and how are we going to avoid these states? We need to know what makes us great, what holds us back, and then how we either stay away from those or we get ourselves into that mode. While we're thinking about that, I want to throw this in. One thing that we need to explain to our athletes is this, that butterflies, that feeling in your stomach, that nervousness in your stomach, is a physiological response to pressure or something that's important to you. In fact, when we get those feelings in our stomach, like our stomach's in knots, or it's flipping around, or whatever it is, those butterflies, your body is preparing you to compete. In fact, the blood vessels in your abdominal muscles are constricting, which then tightens the muscles up a little bit. It takes the blood and it moves the blood from rest and digest, no more time for that, to fight or flight. The blood leaves the abdomen. We don't need to digest right now. We need to move. So it takes that blood, moves it to our big muscles so that we can prepare. More blood at big muscles means move better. That's a good thing. So those feelings, how we look at those feelings, make a big difference in how we respond to them. If we can get our athletes, or even anybody, a public speaker, whoever it might be, if we can get people to understand that that is a physiological positive response because it's prepping us to go, man, that changes things. So we welcome the butterflies. We need the butterflies. There are a lot of people who throw up before an event. In fact, Bill Russell, one of the best basketball players ever, threw up before every game. Why? Because he's unloading things from his body that he doesn't need to go and perform at his best. Our body is turning itself on to go and face the challenge that mean something to us. It's a good thing. So just a little aside there. But back to our list, what are we going to do to ensure that we can meet this emotional state that where we need to be and stay away from the emotional state that holds us back? Maybe it's something as simple as taking your own pillow on the road so you ensure that you get a good night's rest, because maybe sleep is something that's very important for you and you know that tired is on the bad list. Not good. Maybe it's ensuring that you have a plan for communicating prior to the game with a certain amount of people, because you know that if you don't, you're going to be stuck in your head, and that is something that is helpful to your performance. Maybe it's simply reminding yourself when you get the butterflies in your stomach that those muscles in there are not, or the blood vessels in there are constricting for a reason, and that's the way why you feel that way. Whatever it is, we need a plan to get us to our individual zone of optimal functioning, and a plan to keep us away from the things that keep us from that zone. So again, it's the preparation that separates people. We know that, right? The separation's in the preparation. And self-awareness is our superpower. So if we can have people identify the things or the emotional states that work for them, and we have them identify the ones that don't, that awareness alone allows us to identify, like, oh my gosh, I'm going down this road, but it's all right. I've got my implementation intention. This is what I'm going to do. When this happens, here I go. So think about that. There is no doubt that David has a long road ahead. And whether or not he can prepare himself for what's to come mentally and physically by getting enough rest, or by making sure that his mindset's in the right place, by not waiting to be motivated, but to be disciplined, whatever these things are, he's going to enjoy his life a lot more and be able to do all the things that he couldn't do before. If we can do this, we're going to enjoy our competitions a lot more, because we're going to be able to use our talent and our training to its fullest, because we are setting ourselves up to be more comfortable, more consistent, and more confident. And who doesn't play better in those states? So get a list. Have your athletes pick the ones that help them, identify the ones that don't, and then have a plan to get where you need to be. And again, it's not about how you feel, it's about how you need to feel to be your best. Where do you need to be? How do you need to show up? Because if you can show up at your best, you have a much better chance of being your best for the rest of the competition, the rest of the speech, the rest of the meeting, whatever it is that you're facing. If you would like your team to do this together, I would love to lead them through an exercise or a couple sessions on functioning at their optimal level or their optimal zone. Reach out, juliej@ssbperformance.com. And until next week, find your zone, make your list, make your plan, and go be your best. Have a great week.